Meanwhile, though, Twitch is being a pain in the ass again.
Oh God, why would they do that?
I know, right?
Yeah.
So now, in fairness, let's get the in fairness out of the way at the beginning. Twitch did not write the DMCA laws and don't really have a choice as to whether or not they comply with DMCA. This is how the law works. You either follow the rules or you get royally fucked over. Like Steve in Smash Bros. Um, so there's been we mentioned a couple, I want to say a month and a half ago now. Oh no, it was way back in June. There was a massive DMCA wave going around because the RIAA, the Recording Industry Association of America, which is more or less the group of major music, they're the group of major music publishers who between them cover more or less any song you care to name that isn't completely self-published. Basically decided, oh right, Twitch exists. We should probably do something about that.
Well, they've been through YouTube, so
Yeah, they've gone through YouTube and Twitch's turn. Basically, started picking up on songs in VODs and all of that sort of thing. So this is what's happened. I think this was on Wednesday. It might have been Tuesday. Any streamer that had ever previously had a DMCA or copyright strike against their account for any reason at any point was sent a blanket generic email. Hold on, let me get the thing open so I can see it, so I can read it properly. Which basically says, we are writing to inform you that your channel was subject to... So, no, hold on. If we go back to June, they basically paused their DMCA process because it was such a widespread thing. It was affecting clips for the first time ever, as opposed to just old VODs and stuff. So Twitch paused their process temporarily to get proper structure in place and the like. So what they did was they sent out an email to all of these people. We are writing to inform you that your channel was subject to one or more of these DMCA takedown notifications and that the content identified has been deleted. We recognise that by deleting this content, we are not giving you the option to file a counter notification or seek a retraction from the rights holder. In consideration of this, we have processed these notifications and are issuing you a one-time warning to give you the chance to learn about copyright law and the tools available to manage the content on your channel. Now, here's the thing. DMCA, what it actually says you have to do. Like, firstly, someone submits a claim on your content, whether it's legitimate or not, because that's its own issue. False claims is just a constant problem for some people. But
on YouTube, not on Twitch, because they had no such system.
No, obviously it's still a problem on Twitch. It's just much more opaque on Twitch, just like his camera right now. But yeah, so someone will submit a claim. Now Twitch will immediately process that claim, and Twitch will remove the offending content, which is normally a VOD, but whatever, it's a clip or whatever. They'll remove the offending video, and DMCA law says they have to tell you what the offending content was. So they'll tell you it was this video and it was this song on it or whatever. Yeah, they'll say this is where the problem was. And then you have the right to file a counterclaim, saying, no, actually, this was fair use, it was transformative work, or I actually have a license for this content, or whatever it is your counterclaim is. Like, there are a few different reasons you can appeal that. And so you have that whole process you can go through. Now, people like the RIAA love this because they have no interest in actually licensing music because they don't make money out of that. They make money out of suing people for that. Estimated they make way more money out of suing people for it and just taking their revenue.
Don't.
It's estimated.
No,
I haven't
don't.
seen any reliable data either way personally,
No,
but the consensus is whatever. I'm not going to argue.
The RIAA is the association whose primary job is to enforce license for license holders. They don't actually make any revenue off the music themselves. They make out of dues. So yeah, technically they make their revenue out of suing people because that's literally their sole existence.
Yeah, pretty much at this point. When it
like
comes to, when
they
it comes
exist
to,
do that in,
when it
in
comes
name
to
of rights
online
holders.
when it comes to online content creation, yeah, pretty much. But whatever, either way, however it goes. So Twitch has a few problems with this. First of all, Twitch has So Twitch, in its own policies, will say that if you break those rules, you'll get a strike against your account and you'll get banned for a day temporarily. That's just Twitch's own policies, separate from any side of the law. The law does also say that repeat offenders, you have to take more stringent action against them, which is why Twitch will eventually just remove your account. Unless you're a big partner making the money, in which case you can get away with as much as you want, but that's just Twitch for you, apparently. So here's the problem with this generic random email, is that they don't tell you which is your offending bit of content. So you don't know where your problem was, like if it was a particular piece of music or what, which intrinsically and directly, by failing to give you anything proper notification, means you cannot file a counterclaim because you may well have had fair use. So people have effectively had random clips or highlights or past broadcasts or whatever deleted. They don't know which one it is unless they happen to know.
Fair use is not a valid counterclaim. Fair use is a defense for use, which is a legal defense you have to for in a court of law. So at that point, you are defending against a lawyer. Fair use in itself is not a thing.
Fair.
Counterclaim. Counterclaims would be something like I have the license to play this music, or it's in the public domain, or
whatever it happens to be.
Something that's similar. That will be a valid way to counterclaim, or say it's not licensed.
Let me put it this way: none of us here are
fair
lawyers.
Use is not one of those.
None of us here are lawyers. Either go and read it through yourself and make your own interpretation on your own head, be it, or go and consult a lawyer who actually has a clue about American law and knows what they're talking about.
You don't use licensed music if you don't have the license. That's the safe thing.
Basically, that's
do
where you go.
American lawyers know about American law?
It varies from state to state.
Also, yes.
But anyway, so Twitch basically removed random bits of content from people's channels without really telling them what it was. And without giving them any opportunity to appeal, which is questionable and a bit obnoxious, and have somehow managed to be worse about this than YouTube has, which is impressive.
That's my understanding, because obviously I don't use Twitch a lot, and I have no interest in doing so at all. The thing I'm curious about is so for the understanding of general, the way the Digital Millennium Copyrights Act works, so DMCA itself works, is that it creates a safe haven law. And what that means is that, let's say you're YouTube or Twitch, let's keep to Twitch in this case, and you host other people's content, or other people are able to create content on your domain, you need to provide a way for copyright holders to tell you, this stuff is mine, either take it down or pay me for it. Because if they did not have that, Twitch would be liable for all those copyright infringements themselves.
Yes.
And what YouTube did was create a content ID system for that, where rights holders could upload like samples of their work or their work into a massive database, and that will be matched against what other people upload. And this system works, for the most part, fairly well. To make sure that YouTube is not liable in the case of somebody else, like saying I upload a video and I use Beyonce's latest song for some insane reason. That will be claimed because her stuff is in a content ID network, and that will be claimed. And either my video will be taken down, or she can say, give me your money for that video. And that is perfectly within her rights. Now, the thing is, the only reason that content ID works is because it allows that claim to happen. And that makes you to be safe. To my understanding, Twitch does not have such a system, do they?
No, Twitch has no system.
Which leaves them one option. It is remove the infringing copyright stuff as soon as possible, or they are liable. So
they have had.
You might want to invest some of that Amazon money in what YouTube has been doing for the last 10 years.
It's not like Twitch do not have the resources to do this. Like, they automatically mute VODs. They can pick up infringing content from that, and like
so the muting have some system in place.
Yeah, the muting of VODs, incidentally, does not really cover anything. It's to cover themselves more than anything else. But if they can detect it, then it's like it's not like it can't be done. And there's also that other question. So I think we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Twitch Soundtracks, the new thing where they pay their artists, or pay all the artists on Soundtrack with exposure, because they've taken as many routes as they can to actually avoid paying anyone anything. I don't actually know how YouTube handles it on live broadcasts.
The same way they
specifically.
do with non-live broadcast.
It's just a
will
live
mute-
system. Well, yeah, Twitch will pick up. No, sorry, YouTube will pick up potentially offending music at the moment you upload a video. It's there's
Yes.
no. It's part of the standard processing. They have a live
Yes.
system.
But
Amazon.
on live streaming, I'm kind of interested here.
Hmm.
Like Twitch also does nothing on live streaming, so this is still talking
No.
about VODs. But I'll look up in the meantime if YouTube does anything with live streaming. I actually never looked actually.
So the other side of this is that because everyone is now re-subject to the MCA strikes and all of that again,
YouTube does the same thing on live streams, by the way. They actively scan for copyright material on the stream and
well, mute it and notify you or whatever.
according to YouTube help, so I'm just gonna read this here, is when a third-party content is identified, a placeholder image may be placed on your stream. You'll be warned to stop streaming third-party content. If you comply with this warning and address the issues, your stream can continue. If it remains, you will either be interrupted or terminated. So it's basically the same as the Content ID system, but then live streaming on YouTube.
Viper, quick question on this. Could Twitch still be prosecuted via DCMA even though we've taken action? In fact, being available allowed content on platform breach DCMA rules. No, the point that they take action against it is how they maintain their safe harbor.
Yes.
Though various US politicians on both sides of that
And there's
divide
there's
hate the idea.
limits to that and rules and the way they need to
Problem
enforce that.
is-
But like all those rules are between Twitch and the copyright holder. They have no obligation to inform, update, or in any way tell the infringer on their platform anything. YouTube obviously does this through the Content ID system that lets you understand what the fuck's going on.
Yep.
Twitch clearly has not invested in anything
Thing
like
is,
that.
the
because,
MCA
that
is
would be good.
The MCA is a complete fucking mess. I mean, it was correct. I mean, it's Digital Millennium Copyright Act. It is
It was
20
created
odd
in
years.
1998.
Yeah, it's like 20 odd years old at this point. Before
And its original
YouTube,
design
before
was around helping forums.
yeah.
And
So that if you had random
small hosting sites and
random
stuff like
trash
that
posting
ran
shit
those
on
risks.
forums, the forums themselves, as long as they removed the content, weren't going to get ripped off the internet. This was
MySpace
before
had a great benefit of the money.
Yes, this was before YouTube even existed, before Facebook existed, before Justin TV, Twitch's original thing, even existed, before any of those things existed. And it has never been updated since then.
Nope.
It is in exactly the same form as when it was created, and it is woefully out of date for reality these days. Now, none of that is Twitch's fault, obviously. No, Viper. Twitch is based in the US, and therefore US law applies to it. In its entirety.
Also,
Simple
even
answer.
if it weren't in the US, most online enforcement is more or less adhering to this because most copyright holders that are of any renown are based in the US and thus reach out from the US branch of things. So even if you're like in the Netherlands, there's a Dutch company that does this sort of thing. And for online content, they basically follow the DMCA rule set.
Not meaningfully,
even though Dutch
Viper.
law is different.
Not meaningfully, Viper. There are variations on DMCA, but none of them have any meaningful impact on anywhere because almost everywhere which would file any sort of that claim is based in the US, and almost all of those services from which the claim would be filed are based in the US. Like the big services
there are
that
some
would apply
differences.
to, there are some, but the big services that it really gets noticeably applied to are
it's
YouTube and
Facebook,
Twitch,
YouTube is-
Facebook, and all by stuff like the RIAA and variations, but almost all of which are based in
MBA,
America.
etc. Yeah.
Very brief interruption
So
to Discord.
there
but
are
I'm
some
gonna keep
differences
talking
in
anyway.
countries.
So
So there are some differences. For example, in the Netherlands,
Oh yeah.
There are some different rules in regards to when you are supposed to have a license, and that also applies to online. So that's a really interesting sort of paradigm because in US, for example, if you're broadcasting to any audience, you need a license for broadcasting. In the Netherlands, it's up if you're broadcasting to more than 20 people. Which is a slight difference, which in rules interpretation. So technically, you could broadcast copyright, but again, this copyright is a mega mess because you're only allowed to do that for things in the Netherlands to broadcast to the Netherlands with Netherlands license holders. So if you're streaming something whose license holder is in the US through Twitch, it probably applies to US law, which again is a mess again. So
Yeah. gets
The
very
safe answer
confusing.
is if you don't have an audience that will support this kind of financial burden, don't stream copyrighted material. Theoretically, this also accounts for gameplay, by the way. But
Yeah.
most game companies are not insane and
Oh, yeah.
know and understand that this is free
Technically,
marketing for them.
anytime you stream a game, technically,
Yeah.
the publisher, it will be the publisher, not the developer here, because that's
Yeah,
how
the
rights work.
publisher,
The
yeah,
publisher can technically DMCA any of anyone streaming any or YouTubing or whatever any of their games anywhere.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
Nintendo
entirely
has done this.
Nintendo particularly is known for this. Their Nintendo Content Creators Program. They used to have a rule: if you put any Nintendo video on YouTube and it hasn't gone through our official approval process
Yeah,
first,
they will take it down.
they will have you taken down. And Nintendo were really draconian about this.
Yeah, they are.
They've relaxed it now, but they're still much pickier than most people.
Yep.
The biggest instance of this actually happening was when the Firewatch developers, publishers, I don't remember what exactly it was that PewDiePie had done that they took offense to, but it's PewDiePie.
Something racist,
It's
something
PewDiePie,
he's
so
a
yeah.
Nazi or something. I don't know at this point
So
anymore.
yeah, it's PewDiePie, so who even knows? But the Firewatch developers DMCA'd both of his Firewatch videos on his channel and got them both removed, which was like 2 immediate strikes to his account, and so on and so on. Which now technically, the direct moral authority in that is questionable, but legally they unquestionably have the right to do that. And like I said, most developers and publishers recognize people streaming your game is a good thing.
Right. There is a way around this, though. It's a very good way of doing it. The problem is it's fairly expensive. So if you're a bigger YouTuber or a bigger Twitch streamer, there are services that help you navigate this licensing hellhole. And for a fee, and that is not a cheap fee, we're talking in like if you are, let's say, a big YouTuber. What's one I know that's really big? Linus Tech Tips. The one something I watch a lot. Someone their size would be paying like 6 figures in services to have licensed video content on their channel. And I'm not sure they use this service or not. That's utterly relevant, but like many do that do this sort of thing where they pay this middleware company to handle this entire litigation bullshit.
There
and
are
many bigger
some
Twitch stars.
smaller services.
I will take poison on this. All bigger Twitch stars do the same thing, whether to this or another service, because it's just from a business perspective
Makes sense.
a very safe thing
Now,
to do.
there are some smaller services which do something similar. There's Pretzel Rocks, which is a subscription service which will play. You can basically it gives you a player. You can play either licensed or copyright-free stuff. Basically, it's stuff which is specifically licensed to playing on Twitch, which is fine. The selection of music on that, for those who have visited, I don't play any music on my streams that isn't game music anyway, but the selection of music you get on those lists is, sorry, say, somewhat limited.
Of course.
It's very, very genre-specific. Monster Cat is the other big one, which does very much the same thing and also gets used a lot. And as far as I know, it's a less limited, but maybe that's just me thinking it's whatever.
One thing that isn't limited is Spotify, and one thing that you definitely don't have a license for streaming is Spotify.
Also,
So,
Spotify specifically has in its terms of service, separate to any rights to broadcast the music, Spotify specifically says that you do not have the right by having a Spotify subscription to broadcast this to friends or streamers or any other content. To play Spotify on your stream is intrinsically a breach of Spotify terms of service. Spotify.
You're spotty right.
Yeah.
So long story short, Twitch needs to get their shit in order, I guess.
Spotify Twitch extension is not you streaming the music. It is you syncing your playing of music with other people. Which is
different.
Very much the same way the Discord
still
thing
very
works.
iffy, I guess.
It's iffy, but
No,
if it's allowed by Spotify, then it works in and of itself. It's synchronized playing, therefore you would all have to have the subscription, so everyone's separately paying. It's sort of like Amazon Prime watch parties. Then of course you have the other problem with this, which is that the general reaction to this is that given that we now have no way to know as and when, how far back any of our content is ever going to be DMCA'd or anything like that, the number of petabytes of video footage on Twitch's servers which has been requested for deletion over the last 3 days. Let's put it this way: Twitch has a lot of storage space for you. You're not going to need to expand that anytime soon. So many people have deleted so much of their stuff. There have been I'm trying to think of some of the bigger names that have done it, but large numbers of varying big-sized partners and everyone have deleted a decade of their VODs and highlights and everything off their channel. And you can't back this up because this is hundreds and thousands of hours of footage you would have to download. People do not have that much storage space handy.
It's called YouTube, right?
Yeah, you can export it, but that takes time as well. You can't download that much footage or export that much footage in the 2 days warning people got before it's back to standard open season on DMCA.
So that sort of thing kind of baffles me because Twitch has had these DMCAs since June. So they've like literally sat on them for like 4 months.
They've sat on them for about 4 months, done some changes to the system, and then given everyone 2 days notice.
Well, I guess, YouTube's lack of communication needs to be topped somehow.
Yeah, right. It is a competition. I mean, they are competitors.
Yeah, definitely.
And now, in fairness,
missiles.
Twitch did add some useful features, which is that your clips manager now has checkboxes next to clips, so you can select multiple and delete those at once, and a delete all clips button. Where it doesn't have that is on your past broadcasts or highlights, so you have to go through and delete all of them manually. So I did all of this on Thursday. I downloaded several of them, but you will find now not a single video on my channel or clip that hasn't been either the past broadcasts of Hades or highlights from most streams. One highlight in particular. That is all that exists on my channel now. Yay! I have done nothing, which has some implications. Firstly, I did that. Then on Friday, I refreshed the clips page, and some of the clips I'd already deleted were back on my clips page.
Goddamn Twitch.
So, for fuck's sake, Twitch. Secondly, as some people on Twitter have pointed out, if a sponsor is looking to consider whether or not they want to sponsor you to do a stream, they're going to go and look through your old stuff.
Are they?
Yeah, they will go. The standard thing for sponsors and any is that some of the influencer managers and stuff.
I get that on YouTube, but do people care about the back catalog on Twitch ever?
Well, no, they'll go back and
go
back and look at your older streams and stuff, so that they can see what you are like when you're streaming and stuff, whether they want to work with you. It's like that sort of thing. Except
that makes sense.
Except that for most of Twitch, there now is no back catalog at any point for the last decade.
I mean, to be fair, if your back catalog exists as a copyright material, you might not want to work with that person.
I mean, that's very subjective. As far as an influencer manager goes, they themselves probably don't really care about that. They want to know about your personality, whether you're swearing every 5 minutes or whatever. Oh dear.
Well, that's why I never got sponsors.
Yeah. Oh wait, same. But yeah.
Yeah.
I should do that less. But yeah. Anyway, it's stuff like that. It's not. It's not just that you have been lost. In some cases, literally a decade of highlighted streams are all just gone. It is everything which happens after that, because those things exist for a reason. If you did a sponsored stream where part of the requirement or something was that you keep this around for a year, what if you can't? Because now if you do that, your channel might get taken down. Now, whether or not you shouldn't have had copyright or whatever on it, I'm not saying that you should, but yeah, it's like, I'm not going to try and defend anyone who's playing copyrighted stuff if they get smacked for it. I do think Twitch should have better ways of doing this, and the whole thing's a complete shit show, but Twitch has doesn't have a great deal of say in how it deals with things, but it has a great deal more say and a great deal more leeway than the way they've managed it this time. Like, they have some specific stuff they have to do. They have to remove some of the infringing content and that sort of thing. But the way they've managed this, they've had this backlog building up since June. And then they've told people, we've just deleted some of your stuff. We're not going to tell you what it is. You have no right of appeal because we can't be bothered to tell you what it is. And by the way, in 2 days' time, it's going to be open season on anyone the RIAA decides they don't like today, which is all of you. Like, I don't play copyrighted music. I don't play any music on my streams. I got through 4 clips on my channel before I found something which would be DMCA-able. If someone had cared to go and report it, right? I got through listening through 4 clips before I was looking for anything I wanted to download before I found something which would be copyright violation.
And I assume you're a bit more of an exception than not in this case.
Probably, yeah.
Very often, I'll see streamers just playing like YouTube music in the background or radio broadcast or whatever they might be playing, right? And I see this less on gaming streams and more on art streams.
Yeah,
and
games have the
sort of
game's music
live
in it.
streams, etc. Yeah, game streams obviously have the game audio for most things.
The art streams, just chatting, like even something like this. We have no music in the background right now. It would probably be a fractionally more interesting if we did, but I'm whatever. Too lazy to go and find something that I can be reliably sure is copyright free.
Yeah. Well, and there are things you can go out there and you can get licenses for specific songs, etc. But like overall, that's it. Oh well, Twitch needs to get a shit in order, create a similar system to Content ID, I guess, that YouTube has, and finally get on the same page. And people have been, and one of the things that I'm interested in is how this is going to affect YouTube streaming, because YouTube obviously has had dealings with this for way longer than Twitch has been, like sort of actively dealing with it, at least from a public facing perspective. I'm kind of curious if people are going to want to switch to YouTube to stream, because at least then their shit's not going to get deleted, because they know if it's not detected, they're good because the system works and they'll get warnings if something goes wrong. Like, I don't know, but like it at least is something I'm sure some people will consider. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's strange.